The moment I hit the floor, the whole office went silent, then burst into laughter. I remember the sharp pain shooting up my wrist and the sound of my papers scattering like broken glass. But what hurt more was seeing my manager, Dana, standing above me with a smirk. "Careful, Cleo," she said loudly, like she wanted the whole team to hear. "Maybe this job is too fast for you." My face burned. I whispered, "I tripped. Someone moved the box." But they kept laughing. Jason, Marla, the interns huddled together. I saw the box beside my desk, pushed out just enough for someone to catch their foot. And I knew someone had done it on purpose. My chest tightened as I got up. Slowly, trying not to show how much my wrist hurt. I had been at Trident Financial for a year. I worked harder than anyone. I stayed late. I covered shifts. I trained new hires when Dana was too busy. And this was how they treated me. As I gathered my papers, I heard Marla whisper, "She'll be gone in a month. Watch." Something inside me cracked. Not broken, no. Something sharp woke up, and right then I decided they would regret laughing at me. The next morning, my wrist was swollen, but Dana didn't even look at it. She called me into her glass office and shut the door with a snap like she enjoyed the sound. "You caused a scene yesterday," she said, folding her arms. My voice shook. "I didn't cause anything. Someone moved the box." She raised her brow. "So now you're accusing staff? That's dangerous. Cleo? Dangerous." She said it like a threat. She slid a printed email toward me. "3 clients complained your reports were late." "That's impossible," I whispered. "I submitted everything on time." "Not according to our system." She leaned forward. "You're slipping? Maybe you're distracted. Maybe this role is too much." I felt my stomach twist. She was lying. I knew the reports were submitted. I always double-checked. I opened my mouth to defend myself, but her phone buzzed, and she waved her hand, dismissing me like I was a child. As I walked back to my desk, Jason smirked at me. He whispered to Marla, and they both laughed. Something cold ran down my spine. They weren't just picking on me, they were setting me up. And for the first time I realized this wasn't a small office prank. This was a plan. At lunch, I sat alone in the break room, holding my wrist under cold water. I heard footsteps and froze when I saw Eric, the quiet IT analyst, standing in the doorway. He glanced around, lowered his voice, and whispered, "Cleo, you didn't submit those reports late." My heart jumped. "How do you know?" "I track system logs." His voice was shaky, like he was scared someone might hear. "Your reports were on time. Someone entered your account and changed the timestamps." My breath caught. "Who?" He swallowed. "I can't say yet. But be careful." Before I could speak, he walked out, like he hadn't said a word. My mind raced. Someone was purposely destroying my record. Someone had access to the system. Someone wanted me fired. That's when I noticed the HR director, Vanessa, staring at me from the hallway with an unreadable expression. When our eyes met, she turned away sharply. My pulse pounded. Why was HR watching me? Back at my desk, I opened my computer and saw a new email from Dana. "Meet me at 4 p.m. We need to discuss your performance." My hands shook. This wasn't a meeting, it was an ambush. But they didn't know something had changed. I wasn't scared anymore. I was ready. At 4 p.m., Dana didn't even look up when I entered her office. She kept typing, making me stand there like I wasn't worth a chair. Finally, she spoke. "Close the door." Her tone told me this was meant to push me over the edge. She slid a folder across the desk. "This is your performance record. HR wants to review it." I opened it, and my stomach dropped. Inside were screenshots of errors I never made. Missing reports, wrong calculations, 2 client complaints with my name spelled wrong, meaning someone rushed the forgery. "This isn't real," I whispered. Dana leaned back. Maybe not." But HR believes it. Why are you doing this? I asked. She laughed softly. Cleo, some people don't fit here. You're too emotional. She said emotional like it was dirt on her shoe. I stared at the fake documents. They wanted me out so badly. They were creating a whole story. When I walked out of her office, Eric was standing near the copier. He didn't say anything, but he slipped a tiny flash drive into my hand as he walked past. I almost dropped it. A flash drive. What was on it? Back at my desk, I plugged it in with shaking hands. Inside was a single folder titled Shadow. My breath caught. This was something big. My fingers trembled as I opened the Shadow folder. There was only one file, an MP4 video. When I clicked it, the screen showed grainy security footage from the hallway outside my office. Timestamps, camera angles, clear as day, and then I saw it. Jason. He looked around, checked if the hallway was empty, then entered my cubicle. 30 seconds later, he slipped out with a grin, wiping his fingerprints from my keyboard. My stomach twisted. He had logged into my account. He had changed the timestamps. He had messed with my work. But why? Then the video jumped to a different time. Jason and Dinah were standing together near the stairwell. She leaned close to him, too close. Her voice was faint, but I heard enough. Just make sure she's gone before the audit, she whispered. My heart stopped. Audit? Gone? Before I could replay it, Eric messaged me. Don't let anyone know you have that. Not yet. Suddenly, the office lights flickered, as if the building itself knew what was coming. For the first time, I saw the truth. They weren't just bullying me. They were covering something up, and getting rid of me was step one. But now I had proof, and proof was power. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying the video, Dana's voice echoing in my head, before the audit. The next morning, Eric found me in the lobby. He kept his eyes down as if he didn't know me, but his whisper was urgent. The audit is federal, he said. They're checking bonus fraud and false billing. If they find out what management did, people go to jail. My chest tightened. What does that have to do with me? Simple, he said. Your clean record gets in the way. They're framing you for errors, so the numbers point to you, not them. I felt the floor tilt under me. They were using my name to hide years of fraud. Why tell me? I whispered. He looked scared. Because they're watching me too. Before I could ask more, Dana's heels clicked across the marble floor. She passed us with a thin smile, pretending not to notice the fear she caused. I walked to my desk in silence. Every keyboard click around me felt like a threat. Every whisper felt like my name. At 11 a.m., HR emailed me. Mandatory meeting tomorrow morning. I swallowed hard. They were speeding things up. But they weren't the only ones planning. I had a plan now, too. Around 3 p.m., I headed to the break room to clear my head. But when I reached the doorway, I stopped. Voices floated out. Dana and Jason. I stepped back and stayed hidden. We need her out before the auditor arrives Monday, Dana whispered sharply. Vanessa will sign the termination papers tomorrow. Jason chuckled. Should I fix a few more reports tonight? Do it, she snapped. Once Cleo is gone, everything points to her. I covered my mouth to stop a gasp. They were planning to fire me in less than 24 hours. Fire me and blame me for federal crimes. My heart thudded hard. I felt both fear and something colder, resolve. As Dana left, Jason stayed behind, humming. I slipped away unseen, my mind racing. Then my phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Check the printer room, now. My stomach flipped. I didn't recognize the number, but something pushed me to go. When I entered the printer room, a stack of documents sat on the machine. The top page made my skin prickle. Client invoices, amounts changed, signatures forged, all approved by Dana. Someone had placed them there for me. I wasn't alone in this fight. Someone else wanted the truth out. But who? As I stood staring at the forged invoices, the door opened quietly. I spun around, my heart racing. It was Vanessa, the HR director. My breath caught. Was this a trap? She closed the door behind her and whispered, "You're not supposed to have these, but you need them." I stared at her. "Why are you helping me?" She let out a slow breath. "Because I've seen this before. Dana did the same thing at her last job. She ruins one employee to protect herself." My pulse quickened. "And Jason? He's her errand boy, useless alone, dangerous with her." Vanessa stepped closer. "But there's something you don't know. The auditors already contacted me privately. They suspect a cover-up. They're watching everything." "So they know?" I whispered. "Not yet, but they will. If you give them what you have." I held the flash drive in my hand. "They're firing me tomorrow." She nodded. "I know. That's why tonight. You need to get everything. Every file, every log. This is your chance, Cleo." Her voice shook slightly. Fear? Or urgency? The door suddenly rattled. Someone tried to open it. Vanessa's eyes widened. "Hide the papers now." I shoved them inside my blazer just as the door swung open and Jason stepped in. His eyes narrowed. Something was wrong. Jason's smile was thin and sharp. "Busy afternoon, ladies." Vanessa stepped forward. "HR business. Jason, you can leave." He ignored her and looked straight at me. His eyes were cold. "I heard you've been asking questions, Cleo," he said softly. Too softly. Dangerous habit. My pulse hammered. "I just want to do my job." He leaned close enough for me to smell his peppermint gum. "Then stop sticking your nose where it doesn't belong." Vanessa snapped, "Jason, enough!" But he didn't move. He stared at me like he was measuring how scared I was. Then he whispered, "If you push this, things will get ugly." He walked out without another word. I felt my knees weaken. Vanessa grabbed my arm. "You need to leave for today. Go home. Back up everything you have, somewhere safe. And don't trust anyone except me and Eric." My voice shook. "They're willing to hurt me." She nodded grimly. "They already tried." The box I tripped over flashed in my mind. When I left the building, the cold air hit my face, but it didn't clear the fear. It only sharpened my focus. They wanted me scared, but fear wasn't going to save me. The truth would. At home. I spread everything on my small kitchen table. The forged invoices, the flash drive, my printed performance reviews, and the timestamps Eric sent me earlier. My apartment felt too quiet, like the walls were listening. I whispered to myself, if I fail tomorrow, they win. I made 3 backups, one on my laptop, one on an encrypted drive, and one uploaded to a private cloud folder, labeled with a fake name. My hands shook the whole time, but I forced myself to keep going. Then I called Eric. He answered on the first ring. "Are you safe?" "For now," I said. "I'm backing everything up." He hesitated. "Good. Tomorrow, don't walk into that meeting alone." "What do you mean?" "You'll see," he said quietly. "Just trust me." Something in his tone made me nervous, but also hopeful. After the call, I sat in the dark for a long time, thinking about the moment in the office when everyone laughed as I fell. The humiliation, the pain, the way Dana smiled like she already owned my future. Not anymore. I wasn't the scared woman from yesterday. Tomorrow they would see the new me, the one they created with their cruelty. And when I finally closed my eyes, one thought burned bright. They laughed when I fell. Tomorrow, they won't laugh again. The next morning, the office felt colder than usual. People stared at me like they already knew something was about to happen. I held my files tight against my chest and walked straight to the HR floor. Vanessa waited outside her office. Her face was stiff. "They moved the meeting," she whispered. "Room 309. I frowned. Why? Because they wanted it off record. My stomach tightened. When I reached room 309, Dana and Jason were already inside. Dana smiled like a snake. Cleo, take a seat. Jason closed the door behind me, locking it with a soft click. Dana slid a single paper across the table. This is your termination notice for repeated errors and misconduct. I whispered, this is fake. Jason laughed under his breath. Everything says you did it. Systems don't lie. I looked at Dana. You framed me. She leaned back. Prove it. My pulse pounded, but I kept my face calm. If you're firing me, the auditors will want my full statement. For the first time, Dana's smile faded. Auditors, she said quietly. Yes, I said. They arrive Monday. Jason shifted in his chair. Dana's eyes narrowed like she was trying to read my mind. She didn't know what evidence I had, or how much. And that uncertainty scared her. Dana's voice turned sharp. There is no need to involve auditors. HR has full authority here. I held my ground. Federal auditors outrank HR, and they're already watching. Jason shot Dana a concerned look. I caught it. It gave me strength. Cleo, Dana said tightly, sign the termination and leave quietly. It's better for everyone. For you, I whispered, not for me. Her jaw clenched. Suddenly, the door opened. Vanessa stepped in, her expression unreadable. This meeting is not approved, she said. Any termination must happen in my office, not here. Jason stood up. We're handling it. No, she said firmly. You're not. Dana glared at her. Vanessa, we discussed nothing. Vanessa snapped. And if you continue, I will report the both of you for procedural violations. The air went still. Dana's smile reappeared, but now it trembled. Of course. Let's move to your office then. But I caught the flicker of panic in her eyes. She wasn't in control anymore. As we stepped into the hallway, my phone buzzed. A message from Eric. They're trying to delete the files today. Get to the server room. My heart skipped. Everything was happening at once. And if I didn't move fast, all my proof could disappear. While Dana and Vanessa argued about procedure outside HR, I quietly slipped away, heart racing. I moved fast down the hall, taking the back stairwell to avoid being seen. The server room was in the basement. Cold, humming, empty. When I reached the door, Eric was already there, pacing. He grabbed my arm gently. They're wiping logs right now. I stalled it by running a fake update, but we don't have long. You can stop it? I whispered. Yes, but I need your evidence to back up the logs. Once we merge them, they can't erase anything without raising red flags. I handed him the flash drive. His fingers shook as he plugged it into the terminal. Lines of code flashed across the screen. He whispered, Come on. Come on. Then the door handle rattled. My breath froze. Eric's eyes widened. Hide. I slipped behind a tall server cabinet just as the door opened. Footsteps, heavy ones, Jason. He walked toward Eric. You were told to stay out of the system today. Eric kept typing. I'm running diagnostics. No, Jason said, stepping closer. You're stalling. I watched Jason's hand move to the power switch of the terminal. If he shut it off now, everything would be lost. I stepped out before I could talk myself out of it. Stop, I said, stepping forward. Jason froze. You shouldn't be here. I raised my chin. Neither should you. You're trying to destroy evidence. He laughed softly. You think anyone will believe you? Eric spoke quickly. Jason, touching that switch triggers an autolog. The auditors will see it. Jason's smirk flickered. You won't risk that, will you? I added. Not when the fraud points straight to Dana, and you're the one who carried out half her orders. His face tightened. You don't know anything. Oh, I know enough, I whispered. Enough to ruin all of you. For a long second, he stood still. Then he stepped away from the terminal. But he wasn't done. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small USB. If you want a war, Cleo, fine. This holds every file Dana told me to alter. I can drop it in the river tonight. Then it's your word against ours. My stomach clenched. But Eric said quietly, unless your copy is already backed up somewhere. Jason looked up sharply. He hadn't considered that. I kept my voice steady. Walk away, Jason. Before you sync with her. His jaw clenched. I watched his mask crack just a little. He pocketed the USB and stormed out. But I knew this wasn't over. It had only begun. When Eric and I returned upstairs, Vanessa was waiting outside her office, arms crossed tightly. Where did you go? She whispered urgently. Dana is furious. We stopped them from deleting evidence, I said. Vanessa exhaled shakily. Good. Because the auditors just emailed me. They want early interviews today. My heart leapt. Today? Yes, they suspect tampering. They're moving fast. We stepped into her office. She locked the door and pulled the blinds. I need everything you have, now, and I'll make sure it gets directly to the lead auditor. I handed her the stack of forged invoices and my printed performance records. Eric gave her the updated logs. As Vanessa reviewed the files, her expression darkened. This is worse than I expected. Dana and Jason didn't just alter reports. They billed clients for services never done. Millions, I realized. Maybe more. Vanessa looked at me with something like respect. Cleo, these documents could blow the whole case open. Before I could answer, loud footsteps echoed outside. Dana's voice cut through the hall. Where is she? Cleo, open this door. My stomach twisted. She sounded unhinged. Vanessa whispered, Stay quiet. Dana slammed a fist against the door. You think HR can save you? But she didn't know. HR was finally on my side. Dana eventually stormed away, heels slamming like gunshots on the tiles. When the hallway fell silent, Vanessa unlocked the door. We need to move before she tries something else, she whispered. Eric left to handle the server logs, while Vanessa and I took the elevator to the executive floor. My heart pounded. I knew what was coming. The auditors. The truth. The moment everything shifted, the elevator doors opened, and Dana was standing there waiting. Her face was flushed, eyes sharp. Going somewhere? She asked sweetly. Vanessa stepped forward. We have business upstairs. No, Dana said, blocking us. Cleo has a meeting with me. I'm not meeting with you alone, I said. Of course you are, she snapped. And if you refuse... Dana. A cold voice cut through the hallway. We turned. The lead auditor, Mr. Hale, stood by the conference room door. Tall, grey hair, calm eyes that missed nothing. We'll speak with Cleo first, he said, separately. Dana's face drained of colour. Why? Hale didn't blink. Because the patterns we're seeing suggest internal manipulation, and Cleo's data trails do not match yours. For the first time, Dana stepped back. I felt my breath steady. Hale gestured to me. Ms. Cleo, this way. As I followed him inside, I didn't look back at Dana. I wanted her to feel the fear I lived in for months. Inside the glass conference room, Mr. Hale closed the door and motioned for me to sit. His voice was calm. I want you to tell me everything. Start from the moment things began to change. So I did. I told him about the fake errors, the moved box, the altered timestamps, the forged invoices, the video Eric recovered. My voice shook sometimes, but Hale listened closely, never interrupting. When I finished, he said, Do you have the video with you? Yes. I handed him the flash drive. He plugged it into his laptop. As Jason appeared on screen, entering my cubicle, Hale's brows lowered. When the video shifted to the stairwell footage of Dana, whispering before the audit, Hale's jaw tightened. This is serious, he said. They implicated you in federal fraud to protect themselves. I whispered, they tried to ruin my life. He looked at me firmly. And now we'll uncover theirs. He stood and opened the door. Please wait here. We'll call you back shortly. As he stepped out, I saw Dana pacing the hallway, wringing her hands, something I'd never seen before. For the first time, she looked small, and I realized she wasn't in control anymore. I waited alone in the conference room, staring at the city skyline through the glass. My heart thudded loudly. But for once, it wasn't fear, it was something closer to hope. Voices rose outside. One of them was Dana's. That video is edited, she snapped. Hale answered calmly. The file contains original metadata. It's untouched. You don't understand, Dana said, her voice cracking. She's lying. Cleo has always been unstable. Ask anyone. Unstable. That word hit me hard. She'd been building that lie for months. Another auditor spoke. We pulled a random sample of your client invoices. Signatures don't match. That's impossible, Dana whispered. Is it? Hale countered. Silence. Then, Jason burst out. Fine, I altered some things. But Dana told me to. She said the audit would ruin the department. A chill ran through me. Dana shouted, You little... Don't you dare pin this on me. Everything spiraled. Voices clashed, papers rustled. Someone slammed a fist on a table. Then the door swung open. Hale stood there. Cleo, come with me? I walked into the hallway and froze. Dana sat, slumped in a chair, eyes red, makeup streaked. Jason stood against the wall, shaking. Vanessa watched from the side, arms folded. The collapse had started. And they all knew it. Hale led me to another room where a small group of auditors and executives waited. The air felt heavy. Miss Cleo, an executive said, we want to formally state that you are not under investigation. In fact, your evidence has been crucial in identifying internal fraud. My breath hitched. Relief washed through me so fast I almost swayed. Hale continued, we will immediately suspend Dana and Jason pending full review. Another auditor added, we will also restore your record and document the manipulation. My voice shook. So, I'm not being fired? The executive shook his head firmly. Absolutely not. I exhaled, for the first time in weeks. Then the door opened. 2 security guards walked in. They headed straight toward Dana and Jason in the hallway. I watched through the glass. Dana stood up slowly, like her legs barely worked. Jason looked pale, like he wanted to vanish. You can't do this, Dana shouted. Hale responded through the open doorway. We already have. As they were escorted away, Dana turned her head and looked at me. Her eyes were full of something I'd never seen from her. Fear, not anger, not arrogance. Fear. The woman who laughed when I fell was finally falling herself. When I stepped out of the meeting room, the entire office was watching. People who once whispered about me now stared with wide, uneasy eyes. Marla quickly looked away when I met her gaze. The interns pretended to work. Even the senior analysts seemed nervous, tapping pens and shuffling papers. For the first time, I walked down that hallway without shrinking. Vanessa approached me quietly. The executive team is drafting a formal apology. You'll also be compensated for damages. I nodded slowly, still processing everything. From the corner of my eye, I saw Eric leaning against the wall, giving me a small smile. I walked over. You saved me, I whispered. He shook his head. No, you saved yourself. I just helped. My chest warmed. For weeks I felt alone. Now I knew I never truly was. Across the office, whispers spread. Not cruel ones, but fearful ones. She caught them. I heard she exposed everything. They're scared of her now. The same people who laughed at my fall now avoided my eyes. I sat at my desk, breathing in the moment I once dreamed about. For the first time, I felt power, not the loud kind Dana used, but the quiet kind that comes from truth. And I wasn't done yet. The final chapters of my revenge were still coming. The next morning felt different. I woke up lighter, like someone had peeled the weight off my chest. On my way to the office, my phone buzzed. I almost ignored it until I saw the caller ID, Dana Kovac. For a full 5 seconds, I stared at the screen, stunned. Then I answered. Her voice trembled. Cleo, please, I just need to talk. About what? I kept my tone neutral, controlled. I know what I did was wrong, but they're saying I might lose my license, my position, everything. You could tell them I didn't mean... I'm not lying for you. I cut in, gently but firmly. She exhaled shakily. You don't understand. This job is my whole life, and you tried to destroy mine. Silence. I could practically hear her swallowing guilt or fear. I'm sorry, she whispered at last, for all of it. The apology should have made me feel something, anger, satisfaction, relief. Instead, I felt nothing, like she was a stranger. I hope you learn from this, I said simply, then hung up. I didn't owe her closure. I didn't owe her forgiveness. When I reached the office lobby, Eric was waiting with 2 coffees. You good? He asked. I nodded. Better than good. Because today, I wasn't the woman they tried to break. I was the woman they failed to bury. And everyone was about to see exactly what that meant. At noon, the executive team called me upstairs for a formal follow-up. Last time I was here, my hands shook uncontrollably. Today, they were steady. I stepped into the boardroom, a long, polished table, 6 executives, legal counsel, an HR rep, all standing for me. Miss Cleo, the director began, we want to formally apologize for the distress you experienced and the mishandling of your situation. Another executive added, this company failed to protect you, and because of your integrity, we were able to expose a serious internal problem. I swallowed hard. It felt surreal. Then they slid a folder toward me. Our internal review has concluded. We're offering financial compensation for damages, a full restoration of your professional record, and, if you're willing, promotion to senior analyst. For a moment, I couldn't speak. A promotion, the one Dana told me I'd never be good enough for. Why me? I finally asked. The legal rep smiled. Because you're exactly the type of person we want leading here. My chest tightened, but this time from pride. And the director added, we'd like you to lead a team initiative to update workplace integrity standards. You'd have full influence over the same office that once whispered about me. I accept, I said. They all nodded, satisfied. As I left the boardroom, I passed by the glass wall overlooking the office floor. Everyone looked up. This time, they weren't whispering about me. They were waiting for me. Walking back into the open office felt like stepping into a different world. People straightened in their seats. Some offered stiff smiles. Others avoided eye contact entirely. It wasn't hostility. It was respect, with a little bit of fear mixed in. Vanessa hurried over. I heard about the promotion. Congratulations. She looked genuinely happy, maybe for the first time. Thank you, I said softly. Then Marla stood from her desk. She approached slowly, cautiously, like someone approaching a lion they didn't realize was dangerous until too late. Cleo, I just wanted to say, I'm sorry for not supporting you when things got bad. I looked at her, searching her face. Was it guilt? Or self-preservation? Maybe both. It's fine, I replied. But next time you see someone drowning, don't be afraid to throw a rope. She nodded, embarrassed. Eric passed by and brushed my shoulder with his hand. People notice the shift, he murmured. They don't know how to act around you anymore. Good, I whispered. I sat at my desk. My inbox was flooded. Apologies, meeting requests, even invitations to collaborate. Funny how people who once dismissed me now wanted proximity. Every successful click of my keyboard echoed like a warning. I'm still here, still standing, and stronger than ever. This wasn't revenge out of bitterness. It was justice. Quiet, powerful, undeniable justice. The following week, my first team meeting as senior analyst was scheduled. I walked into the conference room early, arranging slides and notes. When the others joined, their expressions were a mix of eagerness and nerves, like students waiting for a new teacher rumored to be strict. I'll keep this meeting straightforward, I began. My voice was firm but calm. We're implementing new audit protocols, increased transparency, and strict boundaries to prevent manipulation or retaliation. I saw some heads drop. Good. From today onward, I continued, this team operates differently, fairly, professionally, and with accountability. A few glances shot across the room. People who once watched Dana Bulwitter bully her way through meetings. Not anymore. Afterward, one of the junior analysts approached me. Ms. Cleo, I just wanted to say, you standing up for yourself inspired a lot of us. Thank you, I said, but I didn't just stand up for myself. I looked around at the office, noticing the subtle shifts. People speaking more respectfully, boundaries forming where there once were none. I stood up for everyone who thought they didn't have a voice. As he walked away, I saw Eric leaning against the doorframe. You're becoming the leader this place needed, he said. I smiled. I'm becoming the leader I needed. The office was different now, not because they feared me, but because they finally saw me. A week later, I arrived at work a bit later than usual. The elevator opened to a quiet hallway. When I stepped out, conversations paused, softly, subtly, but paused. Eyes shifted toward me, not mocking, not doubting, just watching. The whispers weren't poisonous anymore. They were reverent. She's the one who exposed them. I heard she has direct access to the exec team now. She's untouchable. That's what power looks like. I walked toward my office. Yes, my own office now, feeling the click of my heels echo in the silence. Not one person laughed, not one person dared. They watched me. Because they remembered how I walked in here months ago, broken and blamed. And they saw how I walk now, shoulders high, head steady, steps unshaken. When I reached my door, I glanced back once. No smiles, no scowls, just wide, quiet awareness. They whispered because they finally understood. You don't laugh at the woman who survived the fire. You respect her for walking out of it. And I did more than walk out. I walked back in, stronger, quieter, and more powerful than they ever expected. My fall was their entertainment. My rise? Their reminder. They laughed when I fell. Now they whisper when I walk in.